Good evening. It's Thursday, the 21st of August, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Defense alert. India successfully tests Agni-5 missile ahead of Prime Minister Modi's strategic visit to China. Mid-East tensions. Israel initiates first phase of major military operation to seize Gaza City, mobilizing reservists amid war. Medical milestone. Australia marks 50 years since the first child received a dedicated cochlear implant.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Prithika Sivakumar.
Good evening once again. India successfully test-fired its indigenously developed Agni-5 intermediate-range ballistic missile from Odisha yesterday. With a range exceeding 5,000 kilometers, the missile is capable of carrying nuclear warheads deep into China. This test precedes Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming visit to China for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit.
The Agni-5 missile enhances India's nuclear deterrence, showcasing its ability to strike deep into Chinese territory if needed. Developed indigenously by the DRDO, it represents a major step in India's defense capabilities amid ongoing border tensions with China and the broader competition for regional influence in the Asia-Pacific. The test coincides with Modi's upcoming SCO summit visit to China, sending a strong message about India's defense preparedness while engaging diplomatically. It underscores the delicate balance India seeks, demonstrating strategic strength without escalating tensions, even as both nations work to restore trade, tourism, and people-to-people exchanges disrupted over recent years. Beyond China, the missile also factors into India-Pakistan dynamics. Both nations possess nuclear arsenals, and the introduction of advanced systems like Agni-5 reinforces deterrence but also adds complexity to regional security. Global powers, including the US and Russia, are watching closely as India strengthens its strategic posture.
Mumbai is grappling with severe flooding after over 409 millimeters of rain fell within 36 hours, paralyzing the city. The deluge led to widespread waterlogging, disrupted transport services, and tragically claimed at least 21 lives across Maharashtra. Authorities have issued an orange alert as more rain is expected.
Since Monday, Mumbai saw over 409 millimeters of rain in just 36 hours. The torrential downpours paralyzed the city, submerging streets and disrupting both train and air travel. More than 1,000 people were evacuated from parts of Mumbai and Maharashtra state, and around 800 individuals who were stranded on a monorail were rescued on Tuesday. All public transport services in Mumbai, including local trains, resumed normal operations on Wednesday morning after a 15-hour disruption. The India Meteorological Department issued an orange alert for Mumbai and its neighboring districts on Wednesday, indicating that moderate to heavy rainfall is expected throughout the day. At least 21 people have died in rain-related incidents across Maharashtra state this week.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi visited Kabul yesterday, urging the Taliban government to join China's Belt and Road Initiative while offering to launch mining operations in mineral-rich Afghanistan. Talks also focused on removing trade barriers, boosting agricultural exports, and strengthening trilateral security cooperation with Pakistan.
During his Kabul visit, Wang Yi conveyed China's keen interest in initiating practical mining activities in Afghanistan this year. The focus is on developing the country's vast reserves of lithium, copper, and iron, critical commodities for China's strategic supply chain security. He also encouraged Afghanistan to formally join China's Belt and Road Initiative as part of broader economic integration. Beyond mining, both nations discussed dismantling hurdles impeding Afghan agricultural exports to China. This move aims to bolster Afghanistan's economic recovery and integrate its trade more closely with China's markets. The broader objective includes deepening trust and leveraging economic ties for development and stability. Wang Yi also took part in a trilateral foreign ministers meeting with Pakistan and Afghanistan, advocating for enhanced security cooperation. He stressed the importance of a reinforced strategic dialogue, joint law enforcement efforts, and the fight against terrorism, including threats from groups like the East Turkestan Islamic Movement. These measures are aimed at ensuring regional stability and safeguarding any future economic collaboration.
Suspended Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra testified today before the Constitutional Court in Bangkok, defending herself against allegations of ethical misconduct stemming from a leaked phone call with former Cambodian leader Hun Sen. The court is set to deliver its verdict on August 29th.
The controversy centers around a 17-minute phone conversation on the 15th of June this year between Paetongtarn and Hun Sen during a heightened border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia. In the leaked audio, Paetongtarn referred to Hun Sen as uncle and criticized the Thai military commander General Boon Sin Patklan for remarks deemed unpatriotic. The leak led to public outrage and the withdrawal of the Boom Jai Thai party from the ruling coalition, destabilizing the government. The fallout from the phone call has intensified political instability in Thailand. Paetongtarn's approval rating plummeted from 31% to 9%, and the Boom Jai Thai party's exit left the coalition government in a precarious position. Analysts suggest that conservative factions might support the Shinawatra family to counter progressive rivals, possibly installing Chai Khasem Nethisiri as a temporary prime minister to dissolve parliament strategically. The Constitutional Court's decision on the 29th of August will have significant constitutional implications. If Paetongtarn is removed from office, it could trigger early elections and further political realignment. Additionally, her father, former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, faces a separate lèse majesté case related to the 2015 interview, adding another layer of complexity to the family's political future.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. Israel's military has initiated the first stages of an operation to seize Gaza City, mobilizing tens of thousands of reservists. This escalation follows recent clashes with Hamas near Khan Yunis. The Israeli government is considering a new ceasefire proposal amid ongoing hostilities.
Israel's military on Wednesday announced the first steps of an operation to take over Gaza City, one of the last major areas of the enclave it does not already control. Israel's military spokesperson Brigadier General Efi Defrin said IDF forces were now holding the outskirts of Gaza's biggest urban center, which he called a, quote, stronghold of governmental and military terror for Hamas. The same day, Israel's military called up tens of thousands of reservists in preparation for the expected assault. A military official briefing reporters earlier said reserve soldiers would not report for duty until September. Those developments were met with dismay by Palestinians in Gaza, including this man, who called it, quote, catastrophic news, and said he had been hoping to hear about a truce instead. Even as Israel's military announced the start of the operation in Gaza City and called up the reservists, the government said it was considering a new ceasefire proposal to pause nearly 2 years of war. Hamas has already accepted a proposal put forward by Arab mediators for a 60-day ceasefire that would involve releasing some of the remaining hostages held by Hamas and freeing Palestinian prisoners in Israel. In a statement on Telegram, Hamas accused Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of obstructing the ceasefire deal in favor of continuing a, quote, brutal war against innocent civilians in Gaza City. Many of Israel's closest allies have urged the government to reconsider the planned assault. However, Netanyahu is under pressure from some far-right members of his coalition to reject a temporary ceasefire, continue the war, and pursue the annexation of the territory. The Israeli government has said all the 50 remaining hostages must be released at once. Israeli authorities believe that 20 are still alive. Hamas has said it would release all remaining hostages in exchange for an end to war. Israel has maintained it will not end the war before Hamas disarms.
Russia has dismissed Western-led discussions on Ukraine's post-war security as a road to nowhere, demanding its inclusion in any peace talks. Foreign Ministry Sergei Lavrov criticized recent meetings involving the US, Ukraine and European leaders, asserting that excluding Moscow renders such efforts ineffective.
While the US and NATO have been discussing possible security guarantees for Ukraine as part of a peace deal in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Moscow on Wednesday said security discussions without Moscow are a road to nowhere.
We cannot agree with the fact that it is now proposed to resolve collective security issues without the Russian Federation. And I am sure that in the West, and above all in the United States, they understand perfectly well that seriously discussing security issues without the Russian Federation is a utopia, a road to nowhere.
This comes as NATO military leaders discuss security guarantees for Ukraine in a post-conflict scenario. Although the specifics were not revealed, it is believed that in-depth talks took place on implementing the European-led security guarantees for Ukraine. Ukraine has strongly disagreed on Russia's involvement in security guarantees since early stages of war back in 2022. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, when asked about negotiations to end the Ukraine war, stated that both Russia and Ukraine should at least come to the table and figure out how things could work out. Vance also made it clear that European nations should take most of the security burden and said the U.S. will not make commitments until it knows what's going to be necessary to stop the war in the first place.
But no matter what happens, no matter what form this takes, the Europeans are going to have to take the lion's share of the burden. It's their continent, it's their security, and the president's been very clear they're going to have to step up here.
Meanwhile, US-based outlet Politico reported on Tuesday that the Hungarian capital Budapest could be the host of a trilateral summit, bringing together the three leaders from the US, Russia, and Ukraine. However, some media outlets have said that the trilateral summit could now be in doubt as Russia has insisted that it must be given equal footing with other countries such as the US, China, the UK, and France when it comes to discussing any security guarantees for Ukraine.
Authorities in central Mexico are investigating a grisly discovery after 6 severed human heads were found along a highway. The remains showed signs of skin removal and were accompanied by a threatening banner allegedly linked to a criminal group.
Local and federal security forces, including the National Guard and Mexican Army, immediately secured the scene and began a coordinated investigation. Forensic teams are meticulously examining the remains using DNA testing and dental records to identify the victims. Authorities have not disclosed details of the banner, but the presence of such messages is often used by criminal groups to assert dominance or intimidate rivals, complicating the investigation. The banner left at the scene reportedly bore threats allegedly signed by a criminal organization, signaling that the killings may be linked to organized crime disputes in the region. While Tlaxcala has historically been considered less violent than other Mexican states, recent years have seen a rise in cartel activity, including fuel theft and territorial conflicts, suggesting that even previously safer areas are now vulnerable to extreme forms of violence. The shocking nature of the discovery has raised concerns about public safety and the effectiveness of local law enforcement. Authorities have called for increased vigilance along highways and rural roads, and political leaders have pledged to allocate more resources to combat organized crime. Meanwhile, communities in the area remain on edge as officials continue the investigation to identify the victims and bring those responsible to justice, underscoring the persistent challenge of cartel-related violence in Mexico.
Just a day after Air Canada ended their workers' strike, thousands of Airbus workers in the UK, represented by the Unite Union, are set to strike for 10 days starting in September over a pay dispute. The action threatens to disrupt wing production for both commercial and military aircraft programs. Unite demands a pay offer reflecting rising inflation and cost of living.
Thousands of Airbus workers in Britain will go on strike for 10 days starting next month. The trade union Unite said Wednesday they're demanding better pay. Unite represents more than 3,000 aircraft fitters and engineers at Airbus. It said 90% of its members had voted for industrial action. They said the strike will go ahead unless the European playmaker presented an improved pay offer. Unite said the strikes are planned for September 2nd to 3rd and 10th to 11th, and other dates yet to be determined. The union said it could disrupt wing production for Airbus's commercial and military aircraft programs and delay deliveries. Airbus said in a statement, "We are not currently concerned about the impact on year-end deliveries." The playmaker also said it made a competitive and fair pay offer last year, which it said followed previous pay increases totalling more than 20% in the last 3 years. Unite said it had asked Airbus for a pay offer that reflects rising inflation and cost of living.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. Welcome back. Serbian scientists at Belgrade's Institute for Biology are pioneering a method to combat plastic waste by using mealworms to digest polystyrene, a common plastic found in packaging and insulation. This innovative approach aligns with Serbia's efforts to meet EU waste treatment standards.
Serbian scientists have been experimenting with mealworms as a way to break down polystyrene, commonly used in packaging, insulation, and food containers, and help solve a growing plastic waste problem. That's according to Larissa Ilijan, a principal research fellow at Belgrade's Institute for Biology. She says the bacteria living in the larva's guts can break down plastic into carbon dioxide and water, and showed no evidence of leaving microplastic residue in their innards or feces. They can even digest styrofoam, which takes over 500 years to decompose in nature. Serbia, which hopes to join the EU, recycles only 15% of municipal waste, far below the EU's target of 55% and less than 2% of household waste. Over 84% of waste ends up in landfills, often unregulated and filled with plastic, cardboard, paper, and organic waste. Ilijan says the team is focusing on researching the mealworm's ability to eat single-use plastics, as it is currently the biggest polluter, especially since the 2019 health crisis. The project is endorsed by the Serbian government, the United Nations Agency for International Development, and other international donors, and builds on similar research projects in the US and Africa. Ilijan hopes one day her research will function as a recycling system on farms, with mealworms eating up plastic waste before becoming animal feed.
A historic milestone in medical history, marking 50 years since the first child worldwide received a dedicated cochlear implant in Australia. The recipient reunites with hearing health innovator Professor Graeme Clark and surgeon Dr. Robert Webb, reflecting on a groundbreaking achievement that transformed lives globally.
It's been a while since Scott Smith has caught up with Professor Graeme Clark, the man who 40 years ago gave him a cochlear implant and the ability to hear.
The car.
He was just a little boy, 10-year-old, and now grown man, and I have to look after him.
But in a room full of colleagues and patients, it's this medical marvel who so many look up to. Inspired by his own father's hearing loss, Professor Clark pioneered the cochlear implant, a device that's helped hundreds of thousands of people since 1978.
Was that loud enough?
I think that was just right.
Undoubtedly, the cochlear implant is the most effective biomedical intervention we have.
I remember very well the first time we carefully operated. I went into the next door lab and I burst into tears of joy. I was a real sook.
Since then, the implant has gone from strength to strength, and as this extraordinary scientist celebrates turning 90, there's a lot of people who want to say thanks.
He's the reason that Hudson's hearing, so it's honestly an honour to meet him.
I got 2 cochlears. If you take this one, I don't hear.
I could never really have imagined things would work out so well. It's a dream come true.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Prithika Sivakumar, and we'll leave you tonight with the visuals of the biggest Southern Hemisphere wave pool project beginning. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Jenna Newman will be joining you next with the nightly business report. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.